Hey guys, it's Jordan Claude James here. Call me Claude, please. In this video, we were emphasizing joint training. We were doing our shoulder rotations, and we did some hack squats on the machine, of course. And we did a different variation where we emphasized the knee joint, and you'll see that in a moment. The reason why I emphasize joint training so much is because a lot of people can lift a lot of weight. A lot of people have muscle that can lift more than their body can really endure, if that makes sense. Let me see if I can think of a better way to put that. So a lot of people can lift a resistance that their body isn't prepared to tolerate, if that makes sense. Let me explain. So people will bench 2 plates, 3 plates, maybe even 4 plates, all the above. People will bench heavy, but their joints aren't capable of keeping up with that resistance. So when you see people bench, when you see people squat, and when you see people deadlift, or even sprinting, and then you see somebody roll their ankle, you see somebody turn their knee, you see someone tear their knee, even maybe tear their rotator cuff, the biceps, they hurt their elbow when they're doing pull-ups. This is all part of weak joints that that haven't been trained to the same point as the muscle that they stretch and contract. Such as, okay, so let's look directly at the bench press, for example. Your chest is leagues ahead of your rotator cuffs. So what happens when you put 300 pounds on your chest? Well, your shoulder also has to stabilize 300 pounds. And a lot of people haven't trained their shoulders to be able to do that, to be able to endure that over and over and over again. And what happens is the wear and tear builds up, and stretching doesn't seem like enough. The joint's not getting stronger just from increased repetition. It's the stabilizer muscles are just not at the level that the muscle that you're training is at. So that's why we do what we do. That's why I'll have a whole day strictly dedicated to just training joints. Like today, I like to train my shoulders all the time. I think I told you guys that in the past, when I played football, I was a linebacker and a running back. And I noticed that when I was younger, I had weaker shoulder joints. So I would go to tackle people, and then my shoulder would start hurting. Even before my shoulder started popping out, I would realize that after games, that was the most sore part of my body, especially since I was a defensive specialist. I would just be sore all week, after getting into what would feel like multiple car crashes, just constantly sore. It wasn't until I was a sophomore in high school that my shoulders just started going on me. Every game, it seemed like I popped my shoulder out of its socket. And that was from me being able to hit people harder than with more force than my shoulder could tolerate. Me being able to tackle people, extending my limbs, and my shoulder not being able to keep up with the force that I generated with my speed, with my strength, with just colliding with another human being. It got to the point where I'd be exercising, and if I put a weight over my head, there was a good chance that my shoulder would come out. I remember in high school, I was throwing shot put. I was a track and field athlete, and I was a decent shot put thrower, to say the least. I wasn't, I'm obviously not the ideal build for a shot putter at 5'10", 190, but I was, for what I'm working with, I was all right. I was pretty good. I think I made it to all states. I threw about, I think my furthest throw was a 49 feet, and that's well, that's good enough in New England to make it to all states. So I was a decent athlete in that field. But there'd be times when my shoulder would come out just from the force of me throwing a shot put, just taking the shot put off my neck, hurling it as far as I could. That was enough to take my shoulder out. Excuse me. So what I noticed, looking back on it now, what's the saying? Hindsight's 2020. I just wasn't taking care of my body to the same extent that I do now. And sure, I could say, my main goal now as an athlete is to build muscle. I'm not colliding with people. I'm not hurling heavy metal balls as far as I can. And, I'm not competing in an explosive sport, period. So, that might also play a huge part in me being able to stay healthy and not put my shoulders at risk. But there were also times in the gym when a simple shoulder press would take out my shoulder. Overhead tricep extensions could take out my shoulders. Skull crushers could take out my shoulders. I mean, guys, it got to the point when even push-ups just felt really, really hard. And that is my best motion from the waist up. It's my push-ups. I have a solid core, but it's not nearly as strong as my pushing muscles. I have a solid back, and you know what? My lower back is probably my strongest muscle, as I think it is for everybody. But in proportion to my triceps and my ability to push weight off of my chest, it's I don't think it's really close. And but for a long, and that's always been the case, but for a long time my shoulders just weren't keeping up. And that was from me neglecting the little things, neglecting the maintenance of an athlete, the maintenance that an athlete has to go through to make sure that his body can keep up, his or her body can keep up with their performance. I ran a 4.4. I jumped 37 inches. I broad jumped over 9 feet. I threw shot put. I ran track. I did a lot. And back then I was performing at a level that my body wasn't capable of sustaining. Not because I was going too far, but because I was missing a crucial part to my training. A part of my training that, maybe I stalled out. I could have very well stalled out at those numbers. I could have very well been able to push even further past those numbers. And I was very happy with those numbers at the time. But I was always sore. I was always weak. And that's because I wasn't recovering. I wasn't maintaining, and I wasn't training my joints. And this is one of the videos that I think will really help many athletes, especially when it comes to the lower body joints. This is, I got this workout actually from Tom Platz, of all people. He emphasized the knee over the toes, and he was beyond his time when he started doing this exercise right here. You get the knee flexion, you get the knee extension, and I wouldn't be surprised if this does wonders for your ankle joint as well. It's just everything at the lower body is getting focused on right here. as I'm recording this video, this is the next day, and I can even feel this in my glutes. So this workout right here is really no joke. And I mean, I could only imagine if something like this was added to my routine when I was, in my younger years, when I was still competing at at the high school collegiate level even. But I'm just glad I found it. I found this information at some point. As of right now, I'm happy to be able to extend this message to you guys, and anybody who cares to listen. Like, I feel now I'm confident in the fact that if I were to go back, and I hate thinking like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Matter of fact, let me frame it this way. I'm confident in training people to not only reach their goals, but maintain their body, so in a way that allows them to go even further. All right, here we are again, and just wanted to say a few more things about joint training. And just to put it into perspective, the message I'm really trying to get across with joint training is that it's allows you to perform at a level, it allows you to perform at your best over and over and over again. It's almost like cardio, where without the proper lung capacity, without that cardiovascular strength, you might be able to perform at 100% for maybe 10 minutes. But if somebody's like 80% as good as you, but they can go for 30 minutes, you probably lost. And that's how I think of joint training. When it comes to your ankles, your toes, your hip flexors, your hip joint, your shoulders, your neck. Excuse me. Guys, training muscles that require the stability of these joints will inevitably lead you to need to train the joint as well. You don't train the joint just by training the muscles that require them. Yeah, they might get a little bit of work, but it's far too often that you hear about somebody hurting their back from putting too much weight on the squat, or doing too much weight for the deadlift, or they just can't maintain their form throughout that motion, and then they pop something. It's far too often that people their shoulders get all messed up from benching. And I felt it myself from time to time while doing pull-ups. I feel it in my elbow. Well, I'm like wondering, what's that all about? Why is my elbow hurting me while I'm doing pull-ups? Like, this is my first exercise in the gym, and I'm already like feeling like I need to stop, like I'm in pain, or but thinking to myself, well, you just got to push through it. You just got to keep going. This is a part of getting better. Like, you're going to be sore sometimes. You're not always going to be able to get into training and be 100%. And while that is true, if I haven't trained back, if I haven't trained pull-ups, if I haven't trained chest in over a week, and I'm feeling my shoulders without any weight on the bar, I'm feeling my elbow before I even complete one single pull-up just from hanging from a bar, if I'm feeling my knees just from stepping up onto the curb to get to the gym, this is not what we want. This is not what we want. And like I said, soreness is natural when it comes to lifting, but prolonged soreness, I think, needs to be looked at a little closer, especially when it comes to especially when you're trying to put like really put your muscles under a specific tension for a specific amount of time. And when you're training to failure, like I train to failure almost every day. I'm not supposed to, but when I get in here, I just can't help it. It's just a part of the routine. So yeah, it's important just to make sure that you're training your joints. Make sure that you're doing that little bit of maintenance, and it's not something that you need to take to failure. It's not something that needs to be heavy, extra strenuous. It's just you making sure that this body part is warmed up, it's strengthened, and it's maturing along with the rest of your body. Like as long as you're in the gym, as long as this is a part of the gym, is a part of your lifestyle, as long as fitness is a part of your lifestyle, being healthy is a part of your lifestyle. I mean, stretching is just as important as joint training, foam rolling, nutrition. It's if anything, if nothing else, you need this just so that you can be just so that you can continue to perform at 100%, if not as close to 100% as you possibly can. I'm getting distracted. There's a car that just pulled up, and they're not in a parking spot. They kind of got their lights facing me. I'm tempted to roll down the window and see what's up, because this is actually very obnoxious. Why? I just had to roll down the window. They understood that how obnoxious that would be for somebody who's sitting in their car. Sorry about that, but just wanted to emphasize that a little bit more for you guys. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening to what I gotta say. And if you stayed to the end of the video and you liked what you heard, you liked what you saw, make sure to give me a follow, subscribe, and a like to the channel, and I'd appreciate it. See you guys next time.